Ah, there we go, there we go. Now I got sound. Now I had to plug that in. Okay, so let me put this camera up here. Okay. What is this? Okay, that's the scanner. Okay, we're good. So, well, let's reorganize some things here. Let's put this up here. Today, I'm going to think up a license file for the engine. There's really not much yet here for the engine, but I know what I'm doing. I've done enough prototypes where I'm confident that it's only a matter of time till I have something really awesome, and we should probably think about what the engine license is going to be. So, the first thing is I don't want a engine with any weird legalese in it. I think that lawyers should be for, you know, after people have transgressed you, not something you use beforehand. Like, when we get to the point where people can't make agreements between each other, that they, you know, like we're in a civil society and we just want to talk to people and make a formal agreement with each other. Something like that should not require, like, oh, let me get my lawyer before I can, you know, do this thing with you. Hey, can you take out the trash? Oh, let me consult my lawyer. You know, like, that's ridiculous. So we're gonna make a license in kind of plain English, though there will be some complexities to it just because I'm a weird person, and therefore some aspects of it will be kind of strange, but I also think that will make it fun. So we need to get open our project. So let's go here, let's go AAC 2020 folder. Okay, so here's the root of the project. We already have a lot of stuff in here. I would really like to make sure that the root of this isn't too busy, because the more stuff we have in here, the harder it is to see what's important, like starting out. So, the documentation thing I have here, I don't think it's too important here. I think the documentation, right, we're doing a video session on documentation. I don't think it's important to have a file that says documentation at the root of this project. I think that we need to pick and choose and prioritize what's going to be at the root of this project. And right now, I think it's way too busy. I think there's, I know why I have stuff here, but I think that it's just, yeah, I don't want to do this. So let's get rid of this documentation file. Whatever. Yeah, documentation.txt only exists because I figure someone new to the project would probably start here, right? Okay, so I understand the purpose of this, right? We wanted to structure the project so that people new to the project could kind of get into it as easily as possible. But now I think the way we're going to let people get into this project as easily as possible is we have a lot of video documentation, and we have we'll have YouTube lists of things, right? So we don't have to worry about that, and we can focus on being a little bit more minimalistic in here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take documentation.txt, and I'm going to go into doc, and I'll just paste this here. Now I do want to eventually, like, remove these things as well. We kind of, at the beginning, we were like, oh, we'll put every single comment in its own file like this. But I think as far as administrative effort, this makes it really difficult, because for every extracted comment, if you want to learn about it, you have to, like, go into one of these individual files. And that's kind of annoying. So we can keep documentation.txt here, but I actually want to take all of these commentaries here and put them in our hashtag file, that main file. We're kind of dumping everything in there. And what is this? FPT? Fake project tree. That can stay there in the documentation. Yeah, so let's take one of these guys here, and let's just open it up and see, well, what do we got here? We got, like, design notes. I mean, yeah, let's just let's just throw it in the hashtag documentation, because a lot of this is, yeah. So yeah, let's just throw this, tuck it away in this file here. These design notes are old design notes from a previous system, and yeah, from gaku.h. So we're gonna just take everything in here in design notes, and in here we're just gonna say like paste it in there, and then we'll make a note that design notes txt, design notes, we'll call this gaku design notes txt or something like that. And yeah, we'll just take some time to do some administrative efforts here to just clean up stuff. So I see there's two people here, so let me explain what I'm doing right now. I'm just cleaning up this, and we're going to add a license file to the project. If you haven't seen the kind of stuff I work on before, let's just show you something really shiny. I've decided that whenever I see new viewers kind of pop in, I'll show them something shiny really quick to show them kind of what I'm working towards, even though, you know, I don't know if you've already viewed my content or not, so we'll go over this just for a few seconds to show you kind of like the stuff I do. And then you can make an informed decision as to whether you want to stick around or not. So, unfortunately, my server, it's on Heroku, so it takes a little bit to boot up. So, we have this little bomb game I worked on a few years ago. I'm trying to recreate a new engine for this. And this new engine is going to use a lot of fancy tech. So, instead of having pixel-based tiles, we're going to have, like, tiles kind of like this, right? Where you can set, like, fancy materials, and you could zoom into these tiles at an extraordinarily deep level of zoom. Right? And then also there's some other pieces of tech. We won't go over these pieces of tech right now because I'm busy working on like the license file stuff. I don't want to get in too long of a rant, but right, we have all this tech that I've been working on. And if you're interested in like kind of taking a look on that on your own time, I'll paste it right here in the chat window for you so you can take a look at that. Right now we're working on a license file for the engine, and I'm going to before this stream is over, I'm going to host the project publicly so people can take a look at the source code. But before I do that, before I do the license file stuff, I want to take some time to clean up the project a bit so that just a little bit of housekeeping, right? We don't want a project where when someone goes to the project for their first time, they're hit with a whole bunch of clutter and files all over the place and they can't find their way around the project, right? So we want to just clean some stuff up, and we're going to keep on kind of like throwing stuff into this h underscore file, right? We're going to, every time we find stuff we want to throw into this h underscore file, we're going to label it, give it a little section header, and then we're also going to make sure that we always post all of the newest stuff. Every time we post something new into this file, we're going to post it at the top of the file so it maintains some type of chronological order. So even though the commentary in this file, right, there's a lot of commentary, like this is all comments, right? All of this is comments. So we got like, you know, 3,000 lines of comments. Comments can sometimes be incorrect as the code base matures and as things change. So we're going to put all of the new commentary closest to the top so that if you ever find commentary that contradicts itself, well, it's whatever is closest to the top is going to be taken as like a word of truth. And it's kind of hackish, but the thing is we keep on adding and adding and adding more and more commentary, right? So the amount of commentary here is always going to increase, but our capabilities as a programmer to manage all of that stays linear, right? So we need some way to cope with that data management problem, and this is kind of a very ugly and hackish solution, but I think it is a pragmatic solution. Okay, so this file is actually taken from, extracted from, it's extracted from doc/design notes. Okay. And then doc.design notes, we can save it like that, and then we'll just delete it. So design notes right here, we're just going to take this one, and we're going to delete it. And we're going to go through, and we're going to take all of these files here. We're just about to do the same thing. So let's see, documentation, same thing. Maybe we want to save that one for the last. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. Let's just take this, and paste it here, and let's indent this, and let's get rid of the ooh, I forgot to. Let's get rid of these little stars right here. We're going to treat the formatting of this file as if it were a very large comment, as if this were like multiple pages of comment. So we want the rules inside here to kind of adhere to the rules that it would adhere to in a normal C file. So even though this won't be actually included in any compilation units, we want to pretend that it was, you know. Now, does that really matter? It doesn't really matter, but that is just kind of like the way I would like to do it, and just to impose some type of consistency on what I'm doing here. So we'll just make a note here that this is documentation .txt, and we'll just say, you know, 2020 1225, because documentation.txt is pretty generic of a label. So we might as well make a note of, you know, when that was from, right? And we're just gonna keep on doing this kind of housekeeping thing for a while, right? And then once we're done with this housekeeping, we've gotten through all of these files, then we're gonna work on the engine stuff. So let's save this and delete it. So documentation.txt, we can delete that. Okay. And yeah, we're just gonna keep on going through all of this kind of like all of this random documentation, and we're just gonna throw it into here, so we can kind of like tuck it under the rug and forget about it, right? So data then functions. So data then functions is kind of a thing where that can stay like that, because this is about how I kind of make sure that I include all data before I include any functions, so I don't have any type of artificial dependency loop. And what I mean by artificial dependency loop is if class A uses class B and class B uses class A, you have a cyclical dependency, and now you have a problem. One way you can just get rid of that altogether is, well, most of the time the problem is kind of this artificial dependency loop where you don't really have a dependency loop. If you could only decouple the data of the class and the functions in the class, you wouldn't actually have any problems. So what I mean is that you say class A uses class B and class B uses class A, but what really is happening is, you know, the A functions are using B data and B functions are using A data, right? So if you include all of the data first, you include the data of A and B first, and then you include the functions, you don't have any compilation problems. And so we're going to keep that style of compiling the project where we have the data first, all of the data first, and then we include the functions. So we're going to keep that up because so far it has served us pretty well. Let's see what we got. Library chain.txt. So a lot of this stuff is pretty good, good stuff here. I probably should say, you know, this was extracted from data then functions.txt. And let's paste this here. The indentation here isn't really gonna, well, we could do this, right? We could take that, and that looks like crap. Okay, and this right here is library chain, so library chain. And we can make a note that where this was extracted from, and library chain.txt, library chain.txt. So the idea here is we don't want to overwhelm people who are like looking at this project with like a huge file system full of a whole bunch of things and they don't know where to go. We want... Now obviously having these files here is still kind of like overwhelming, because it's like, oh god, they don't have any names. We'll think about how to address that later, but right now we have way too many files in here, and I know that might go against the way a lot of people think about how to do things, because they're like, oh man, we should break things up into lots of little manageable files. And I get why you'd say that, and there is truth to that. Like, you don't want to keep everything in a single file. I've experimented with that, and once you get really good at, like, control F'ing through stuff, one single file with everything kind of works. But even if you can get it to work for just you, it's going to be impossible to work on it as a team. So you want so when you're thinking about, like, the units for the size of your files, think about what's going to be best for working on it as a team, right? And what's going to work best for your version control. Now, obviously, if we have all of this documentation pasted into this one file, that does make it a little bit hard for version control, right? Because if other people are in the file, then we have some problems. So this is mainly serving as an extracted comments file. So I'm thinking that if this ever becomes a big project, what we have is we have, like, one day, and I know people say that this is, like, an impossible thing to do. How are you going to tell people to halt progress on things and do this? But I think, you know, one day a week on, like, a Sunday, when nobody else is in the office, right, a maintainer searches through the code, reads the code, sees commentary, and starts to extract large blocks of commentary into this file, and then put a little hashtag on it so that the place where the code was extracted, people can still find the original comment block, but the source code itself that people have to read is no longer super cluttered by a whole bunch of paragraphs and paragraphs of comments, right? Because look at all this. This is like 3,000 lines of comments, so think about the amount of visual clutter that's adding to your code base, right? So, previous project, TXT, that was a thing that I kind of... Sure, why not? So sometimes in some other code bases, I make note of what the previous project was that I worked on, because as you start to spin off a lot of little projects and prototypes, you lose track of what you did when, and then you can't find it in your file system because you don't know where it is. But if you can keep, like, this mental linked list of what projects you worked on previously and keep a little stub in the next project, then it's a little bit easier to find where those previous projects were. Well, though this isn't going to be very useful here, because usually when you make a note of the previous project, you want it, like, at the top of the file. But you know what? This comment here really isn't that necessary. Like, all this information isn't going to be necessary to anyone using the engine, knowing about what my personal previous projects are. So I think it's fine to kind of, like, bury it into this file. This file, by the way, is not meant to be read from end to end, right? It's just like a place where we just dump a whole bunch of stuff, and it's supposed to be like an index. Maybe index isn't the right word. There's a word I'm thinking of, but I don't know what it is. God, I can't think of it. This is, I don't know the exact word I'm looking for, but this is a reference file. It's not meant to, we'll have to stick with reference file because I don't know the fancy word I was looking for. But yeah, this is just to serve as a reference file. So we're not going to expect anyone to have to read through this end to end. And also, if you read through it end to end, you'd be reading through it backwards, right? Because all the newest stuff is going towards the top. YCog and diagram. Yeah, so just a lot of little things. YCog and diagram. So YCog in diagram. So a lot of little rants where it's like, a lot of times when you look at old code you wrote, you're like, why the hell did I do that, right? And sometimes the why the hell did I do that is like a big paragraph. So the reason why, you know, there isn't any commentary on why you did what you did is because it would be like this long paragraph summary, and you don't want to clutter up your code like that. And so that kind of gets you stuck in this place where it's not really your fault you didn't write any comments as to why you did that, because the explanation was a little bit too intricate, right? So we want to help ourselves avoid that kind of situation of what the hell was I thinking, right? So let's say extracted from. I'm not being very consistent here, so we should also go down here. And since I was consistent with my naming convention, I know that this was called previous project.txt. And extracted from, so let's just make sure we have an extracted from tag on all these. So this was extracted from documentation.txt. It's really doc slash, so we should probably add that as well. Okay, so doc slash, okay, doc slash previous project. Doc slash y2cog diagram. Okay, cool. So now we can delete this guy right here. And this is a pretty like bold move here we're making, right? To say that, you know what, I think it's better that we just shove everything in one file. And that may be a decision that people don't like. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to make these bold decisions where you could be potentially, you know, burying yourself into, like, a hole, right? You know, that's what technical debt is all about, right? So y frag bed default copy. And, you know, every once in a while, we have to take some time to just maintain things and do some housekeeping. A lot of people would say, like, a lot of people have this attitude of, you know, clean up as you go or whatever. I'm never that kind of person who I can, like, clean up as I go. In all aspects of life. I think it's easier to do some stuff, write some code, mess things up, make things kind of trash the place, and then focus on cleaning up. Focus on coding, focus on cleaning up, but one or the other, but not both at the same time. I think that just, I think that really just splits your focus. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion on the matter. Okay, so y GPU data, y GPU data. And the reason I have these underscores before the hashtag is just because the visual clutter of having that hashtag right up next against the text makes it a little bit hard to see, to like visually parse, so that's why there's those underscores there. Okay, so this is extracted from doc/y GPU data.txt. And then we forgot this one up here, so doc/y frag bed default copy.txt. Okay. Delete this. And y GPU data paint 5D. So let's look at this one. Nope. Do not keep it in the header. So yeah, just like a lot of long commentary that we're probably never ever going to look at ever again, but we just want to stash it somewhere. And like this commentary is we want to make a note on this commentary here, because I'm looking at it and I know that this commentary is old. So let's make a note here. So update 2020 12/25. After working with, I have decided this naming namespace pattern breaker. Alright, so just make a note of an update note here. because, right, we're kind of like pasting a lot of stuff into this file after the fact, so we're wrecking some of the chronology of this file, right? The idea that like the newest comments always go towards the top, but we're taking stuff that's kind of old and we're kind of like throwing it in here, and that's kind of like ugly and dirty the way we're doing that. So I'm just gonna make a note, an update note that you know, after we worked with this namespace here, we decided this was a horrible idea. So we have these justifications as to why we did this. And now we're saying, you know what, that was a bad idea. We have these justifications of why we tried it out, but we reverted to this old name here because everything having two namespaces for consistency is very helpful. It makes the code very readable, and having this one system that has three namespaces on the variables just, first of all, makes it really clunky. And also, you sometimes expect this to be the namespace and expect this to be something else, and it just gets things confusing. We want to keep the code as consistent as possible, and this wrecked a lot of that consistency. So we backtracked on that idea. So extracted from, and this is y GPU data paint 5d.txt. Okay. We can save that, we can close it, and then we can delete it, which is a little bit extra steps. We don't really need to do that many extra steps. Why no instance in GPU data? So let's take this, and I think that commentary is actually still valid. So why no instances in GPU data? So let's say why no instances in GPU data. So there's actually a new reason for why we don't have instances in GPU data. Which is not related to yeah, so there are, so I kind of backtracked on this decision as well, but only partially. So let's say, you know, written before 2020-12-25. And let's make an update. Update date 2020-12-25. And usually we're not going to like backtrack like this, right? The idea is that the thing closest to the top is always what we take as truth. Because we're pasting some old commentary into the top of the file, we're kind of wrecking that pattern. So when we see something that kind of contradicts, we want to like paste an update above it. That way, the rule of the newest thing always being closest to the top is still kind of adhered to, right? So, GPU data now serves as a temporary container for passing information about subsystem texture memory. All of the data lives in file scope variables because flat is better than nested, and because okay, so Right now, GPU data actually serves as a temporary container for passing information about subsystem texture memory, and all data lives in file scope variables, right? So not within a function, and not within any kind of fancy struct. And that's because flat is better than nested, and specifically in pixname, aka pixel name, .d, so the data file. And pixname.d gives us a high-level summary of all the important 512 by 512 system data allocations in the entire game engine within one file. So it helps give us this high-level overview. Now, this high-level overview does kind of wreck... Well, it doesn't... It slightly violates the library chain system we're going for, of kind of including things as we well, let's show you what I'm talking about. So let's close this. Nope, and let me make a note here. Hold on. Okay, so let's delete this. Let's talk about pixname really quick, and then we're going to get to the license stuff. So, or we're probably going to delete this as well. Pixname. Okay, so let's look at this main file here. So, right, we have this library chain, and these are all the systems that are in the game, and we can compile up to any number, right? So, we have this libchain here, this libchan variable, and right now it's set to 24. It means we compile up to here. It means we take all of this. But we could choose to set this value to, say, 12, and then we only compile up to here. And no matter what we compile up to, we always get a running executable. Now, obviously, if we strip out half of the engine, then there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff missing, and we might not have anything very useful in terms of what we have compiled, but the goal is to have a compiling executable that runs. The reason for that is sometimes we want to check for bugs that are kind of more insidious, kind of like harder to... We've done something undefined behavior, and it's just very hard to hunt down, and kind of chopping the project up and recompiling it like this can help us identify where things are going wrong. So since we've done this, in pixname, we kind of forward declare all of the different data allocations for all of the different subsystems to come. So pixname will actually declare data that's going to be used by Paint 5D, and then the other subsystems to come, it also will declare data blocks for that. So pixname also declares a data allocation used by the Tau system, so Tau Depot, collectively these systems here. And so that kind of breaks the idea of you know, this system here can only reference things behind it. Well, it doesn't really break that, because pixname is not referencing things in front of it, but it's creating, it's anticipating what the future is going to be, and then that way it'll have the allocations ready for the systems to come, right? This system here, and this system here. So it doesn't really break that, but it feels kind of against the spirit of, you know, this kind of thing here. But I'm not too worried about it, because they are static allocations, and the likelihood that adding new static allocations into this file will add any type of weird, unpredictable behavior is unlikely. So I'm not worried about any weird side effects of what's going on here. But it is kind of a weird aspect of the engine. The reason why we do this is if we look in pixname. Let's actually look in pixname for a second. So pixname.data. The reason why we do this is because it just makes a very nice summary of what all is in the engine in terms of like these big data allocations that are going to be used by the engine. So we see that the Paint 5D system variables are going to be prefixed with this Paint 5D, and then Tau Depot system has this other prefix of Tau Depot, so very obvious. And you can see this very consistent pattern, right? We've clustered everything in these very redundant kind of patterns where even though there's a lot here to look at, the pattern makes it not that much of a cognitive load, right? Like if we ever wanted to add data for a different system, we would know exactly how to do it just by looking at this pattern here, because all the patterns here, it's very redundant and very repetitive, and that was the intention. So we could have had, like, we could reorganize this and say, you know, we could say group, we could say, another way to organize this would be to say group this, 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 this. We could group all those together, and then we on the same cluster of lines, and then we could group all of these together, all these things in orange, on the same cluster of lines. But that'll just make it harder to see the patterns in the code, right? This makes it very obvious. By pairing everything that's similar together, it makes it very obvious if we've made some type of mistake or typo, right? Because we see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So there's an obvious pattern here. We see, you know, texture slot here. If there was a typo in one of these names here, we would instantly be able to see it because we can see all these letters nice and lined up, right? So we're trying to organize the code in a way that makes all of the patterns in the code dead obvious. So a lot of when you're in a new code base, it's just about, like, people can't comprehend a new code base right away, right? So you want to add a whole bunch of patterns to that code base so that people can look at it and be like, oh, I see these very obvious patterns, and oh, I know what to do, right? So like these 512 times 512 times 4, if this was like a 2, we would know that was a problem. If these weren't 512s right here, we would know it was a problem, right? Just a lot of redundancy in the source itself, because you got to think that there's two compilers working on this code. One compiler is GCC, the GNU compiler collection, and the other compiler is you, the actual human being looking at the code. You are the other compiler, so we want to structure things in ways that are friendly to the human eye. And that is why we're going to align things in this kind of OCD way. And I don't care what people say. Being psychologically dispositioned to aligning code is not a bad thing. It's, you know, we got to be really careful with how we write our code. Any step we can take to make small errors in the code blatantly obvious is a good thing in my book. So. Okay, so we've kind of like cleaned up this documentation folder a bit. Now it looks kind of cryptic. We're not going to worry about it looking cryptic right now. And we got this problems file, and I know I kind of like, this file can be deleted once these problems are fixed. Changing shaders probably deletes my texture allocations. Not sure about this. Let me think about that. I'm still not sure if that's true or not. Texture sampler uniforms must be requeried when doing a texture upload. The uniforms may have been set up when the fragment shader was loaded that did not use... Well, that's the thing we're already doing. That's the thing we're doing. Saying that must. Okay, so this is just something that needs to be done. This was a to-do. That's fine. I need to read this. Yeah, I was thinking that, so I'm actually not causing a memory leak in my GLGen textures. There's the possibility if we reinitialize some of the system code and regenerated the textures. We're only generating all the texture information once, but if that were to change, that could possibly be a problem. So, I'm going to say we don't want to add too many folders here, so I'm going to just say new folder. I'm going to make a folder called fix, and we'll take problems we'll just take this problems folder file and we'll just put it in fix, right? So what we're trying to do is we're just trying to reduce what is at the root of this project, right? Because we don't want to we don't want to overwhelm somebody with like a whole bunch of files, right? If there's a license file in here, we want to keep it. We just want to keep it simple. We don't want to. I hate projects that have a ton of stuff in the root, and so you don't really know where to start, right? Because you're looking at all this stuff. Now, maybe if you're an experienced programmer, you look in a file that a root project, and you're like, oh, I know where to start. Let me just look for the license file in the root directory, right? Yeah, but if it's cluttered like that, like I don't want to expect that anyone using this engine is like some type of like really good at, you know, looking through projects, right? Like I don't want to expect anyone to be a very advanced level in terms of coding ability or their ability to, you know, navigate new projects, right? I want this to be kind of as inviting as possible. So the next thing is this D and F file. I know why I put them at the root, because it's kind of nice to have them at the root, but I think they might belong in main, because they're now if we change where that is, we're gonna have to change some of our includes. So before we move that around, let's make sure that the project still compiles, right? Let's give this a run, make sure it still compiles, and then we're going to put D and F into main, which kind of hides it, and it is kind of like a main, kind of like a, it is one of those things that kind of belongs in the root, because of, it's kind of like the starting point, like D and F right here, that's data and functions, and it's basically the data and functions of the C11 file, right? So if we actually look at where we include D and F, we have it here, top level code. So, so now that makes it kind of a little bit more hidden as to where certain things are, and that kind of might be a bad idea. I don't know, but we're gonna shift it around though, because I just think that when somebody looks at this, it's a C project, right? So if this is the only C11 project in the root file, people know kind of start here. Now the problem is that, you know, this is buried a little bit deep down, right? Because you got to like scroll past all of this before you kind of see this, and this might kind of go over your head. This is top level code. And then you might not realize that this is kind of where you want to look for the top level logic. So this could be kind of like a, I'm not sure if it's the best idea, but we really want to make the root of this project as simple as possible, so when people are looking at files trying to find their way around the first time, they're not like totally lost. So we're going to take this D and F, and we're going to go into the library code, and we're going to go into main, and we're just going to paste it there, right? Because it's basically the main source code, top-level source code for the project. And then these are just like little functions that we've kind of extracted into their own files to reduce the clutter within these main files here. And now we're going to expect that we have broken some things. Firstly, this is obviously broken, so we could address that right now, or we could try to compile to see if we're getting the errors we expect. So I think I want to compile to make sure that I see that I'm getting the errors that I expect from the change I made here. Fatal error, d._ no such file or directory. Okay, yes, that's what we expected. So let's change this right here. Let's change it to lib/main, right? So that's not too bad, right? Lib/main, like that makes sense. It's the top level code, right? And if somebody looks at this, they're going to know where to find it instantly. And let's give that a run and see if the D and F files may be including things. Yeah, so the D and F files are including other things, lib/main. So we got to go into the lib files and kind of change those hard-coded includes. And so this is kind of like a, you know, so some people would not like to do includes the way I'm doing them because it relies on the project structure to, if you move around files, then things break, right? But I don't want a flexible project structure. I actually want a very rigid project structure, and the trade-off there is the more rigid I am, the clearer the code is going to be, the easier it is for people to find their way around things, right? So let's open up this D and F file and see, like, well, what are we including? And we know that we have, like, this lib/main in a lot of places, and really all we should have to do is remove anything that says lib/main. And I don't see any references here, so it's all in the function stuff. And let's just do a quick look for lib/main and see, is it all at the top of the file, or is it in, like, other places as well? And no, it's all here, kind of isolated. That's nice. So we can do... it looks like we kind of did a different include here. We did /. Now, I don't know how much that actually matters, but now that this is actually in... We're actually in libmain right now. We can just do / this, right? And then / that, right? And we're just going to rename these paths. And that should be all we need to do to get this reworking. So that wasn't too bad. And we'll give it a run and just make sure that, hey, does this still work? Are we successful with our little refactor? I don't take any type of refactor as trivial. There's no such thing as a trivial refactor. So lib/don't, fatal error in main/f. So let's go look for that. So lib/don't. Oh, it's right here. So there, I know there's a reason for why I did this. And to get to this don't, right, we're already in lib/main, so we gotta back out to get to lib. So we could do /. So if we back out one, we're gonna be in lib, but we might want to actually see that we're in lib, so we might want to actually back out twice. Right, we might want to actually back out twice, just because it gives us more information, right? Lib/don't is a little bit more information than /don't, whatever. So we're gonna actually back out twice, rather than just backing out once into the lib folder and then going forward into here. We're gonna back out twice, and also it gives us the advantage of we didn't really have to rename any of this, did we? But I think this gives us, by backing out twice, it gives us a little bit more information, and I want to be as explicit as possible. I want to be more verbose and more explicit if I can be. So let's give that a run and see if we have fixed that as well. And right, we have a little comment here. Documenting what you don't do is also important. I did not actually read that as it is written. Documenting what not to do is important, and I very much believe that. Because sometimes it's kind of like that the iceberg analogy, right? You see all the stuff on the top, but you don't never see anything like under the water, right? You never see the big chunk of that iceberg under the water. And some of that iceberg under the water is all the things you didn't do, but there's no evidence of what you didn't do. You didn't record what you didn't do, because there's how do you record something that doesn't exist, right? And so we actually want to make attempts to kind of record things that don't exist, and the things that we intentionally did not do, right? So sometimes I'll even write a function name, and the function will just throw an error, and I'll intentionally write that function name to be like, no, I actually thought about adding this function, and then I decided it was a bad idea. So that way, if somebody else comes along and tries to add this function, they're going to see, oh, it already exists, and here's a reason why it's a bad idea, right? Because somebody with less experience might, like, if you ever seen, like, Thunderfoot goes over Kickstarter sometimes, and people constantly reinvent these horrible ideas that they think are genius, but, you know, they think they're genius because, you know, they're young or whatever, or they don't have the same amount of experience as some other person more seasoned in the industry, so they think they're doing something revolutionary, but they're actually just doing the same stupid mistakes that the people before them made. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to have some mechanism where we can kind of prevent that, right? Like people who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, right? So if there's some type of history of why we don't do something, we want to somehow kind of put that in the code so that people can see that. We want some type of preventative measure to prevent this. So that was kind of redundant. Preventative measure to prevent this, whatever. Anyway, so we've kind of cleaned this up, and this looks much nicer. Now, this OpenGL search paths is all actually auto-generated. I'm kind of scared to, because I say that, but like I'm not sure. But let's make sure. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna rename this, and we're just gonna like put some underscores in front of it really quick. We're gonna do a quick sanity check and make sure that this works properly, because this should be generated if it doesn't exist when we boot up the project. And that's why it's not committed with the repo. So technically all we have is this right here. And we don't even have the mod folder as well, because the mod folder is also generated the first time you start up the project. So let's take this for a spin, make sure that the OpenGL searchpath.txt is created, and then if that all looks good to us, we're ready to like add a license file, and I hope that that still works, because I mean I didn't touch it, so I expect it to work. So okay, so we got this is working, and if we close this, hey, look at that, OpenGL searchpaths.txt. Let's see what they both look like. So C Windows System OpenGL 32 DLL, and C Windows System. So it might be nice to, well, they're the same path. It looks like I just added spaces in this one because I wanted to make sure that it could still run if somebody like added space, like empty lines and padding here. So that's cool. So OpenGL search paths works as I expect it to work. We can delete that, and everything here looks good to me. It looks nice and cleaned up. Right, we only have a bash file and a C11 file that people can really look at. This they're not going to see in the project. And let's make sure that the git ignore is ignoring OpenGL search paths, because that really shouldn't be. Yeah, OpenGL search paths is being ignored. Excellent. The mod folder is being ignored. Like I said, that is being auto-generated. These used to be at the root of the project. We're going to keep the ignore in there anyways. You know, maybe it's a bad idea of me to not clean that up, but I'm not going to clean it up. I think, I don't know, I am a little bit of a hoarder with my code, right? So maybe, you know, maybe this right here is a coping strategy. But at least I know thyself, right? Okay, so let's do a git bash here and kind of commit what we have, if we can type. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff. We deleted some stuff. That's fine. Git add dot and a git status. All right, and we can see some things were renamed. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to git commit dash. We don't actually have to do am. A is for add, m is for message. We just kind of need to do dash m. Sometimes I do this, which is kind of unnecessary, but it's just a habit. I do git commit am like this, and a commit message. So we're gonna say clean up before adding license file. Okay, and then git push GitHub and master. So you notice how I write GitHub here? I write GitHub as git_hub, and it's all capital. And that's because when you look at this, you don't think this is any type of special keyword, do you? You think this is some weird thing I'm doing. And that's exactly what I want you to think. Because sometimes if you're new to code, you see people running things, and knowing what's a keyword and what's not a keyword can sometimes be kind of confusing. And I want to make it absolutely obvious that this is not some kind of keyword, right? Because I had a lot of trouble with Heroku tutorials, because like in Heroku tutorials, right, Heroku is a command for the Heroku CLI, but git push Heroku master, this Heroku here is actually not a keyword. It's just the convention for what you set up the remote to be, the remote alias. So what I do, instead of typing this, I'll actually call it git push Heroku master, which is also weird, right? It's completely weird and oddball, but the thing is that when you look at it, you're like, oh, this is definitely a thing that I'm doing. It's definitely a thing that I'm doing. It's not actually a part of the Heroku CLI, or it's not a part of Git, right? And so I'll intentionally do that, just to make things more understandable. Okay, so git status. Okay, we're gonna clear. Okay, so let's think of a license file. So we're just gonna be very simple about this. Remember, we're gonna not, first of all, I'm not an expert at metadata files at all, so I can't write them anyways. And the other thing is, I want to make this easy for somebody who doesn't know much about code to be able to, like, open this up and take a look at it, right? So if we call it, like, license without an extension, that's not going to be very friendly to somebody who it doesn't know much about Linux and is coding on Windows, right? And no file extension, what the heck is that? Because I remember when I saw files without an extension, I was like, I didn't even know that was possible. What the heck is this? Wait, this isn't a folder? You know, what do you mean it's not a folder? It doesn't have an extension. Shouldn't this be a folder? Do I have a virus on my computer? Like, you know, a whole bunch of thoughts where you don't know what the heck this is. So let's actually, I think we should just call it license.txt, because everyone knows what a txt file is. But I don't know how to spell license because I can't spell, so we're just going to name it that for now and look up how to spell license, because license. L-I-sense. It's like sense, but like, with a C. Listens. License. Okay. So, it's one of those words that I guess I can spell it correctly, but it's one of those words that, depending on the day, I may or may not, like right now, I don't, man, I am so, you know what, we're just gonna cut and paste, from the internet. Yeah, I'm not confident in my ability to correctly spell this, and that's also kind of one of the reasons why I have very terse variable names, is because, they're very terse and often phonetic variable names that, where I don't have to worry about, like, the spelling of something, right? Because, you know, the worst thing to have in your code is looking for a variable, not being able to find it, and then realizing that the reason you can't find it is because you don't know how to spell, right? So, okay, there we go. Okay, so we're absolutely sure that that is correctly spelled. Excellent. Okay, so now, in here, let's think about the license. So, if you use this engine in a game, you must. Okay. So, what are the things you must do? Not remove the splash screen. Okay, so we're going to write it as not remove the splash screen because we don't actually have a splash screen yet. So, you know, if there's no splash screen because you're using an old engine version, well, that's on me. If your version of the engine is old and there isn't actually a splash screen, you are okay. Okay. You're okay. Okay, so that's the first thing, right? So, like, when, like, I think, Unity boots up, according to Master Z was telling me that when Unity boots up, it, gives a little, advertisement of, you know, this is, you know, made with this engine or whatever. So I think that's a good thing where, good thing to get advertising. So whatever that splash screen is, right? Maybe it's my Twitch handle, maybe it's the engine, maybe it's the repo. Whatever that is, don't remove that. Okay, so the other stipulation is, what about royalties? Well, if you want to do something like Unreal's thing, where, like, you know, if you don't make a certain amount of profit, or you don't make a certain number of sales, then, you don't owe anything, right? So, so what we're gonna say is, so how are we gonna do that? We're gonna say, costs. 1. If you sell less than, let's say 100,000 copies of your game in a given year, you owe nothing. Okay. So what about if there is kind of like, if somebody kind of goes over that, what do they owe? So I think that the first thing is we don't want to have it to where, oh, you sold, so 1,000, let's say they have sold, 99,999, they owe nothing, right? And then all of a sudden they've sold their 100,000th copy, and all of a sudden they're hit with a huge bill. We don't want that either, right? So it should be, like, for everything after that, right? So that way, to avoid getting hit with a large bill out of, now maybe we don't want to explain why. Let's not explain why that is here, but let's say that every copy sold, every copy sold after the so what kind of royalty are we talking about here? So I'm thinking that so here's the other thing. I don't want too many people kind of like, it's not that I want to limit how many people are using the engine, but I want to limit how many people are, I want to make sure that people are making quality things with the engine, right? Because that could hurt me if people don't make quality things with the engine, I think. So I'm thinking that, that 2 should be, so I'm thinking, like, around $20, but, we have to think about, like, what minimum wage is, right? We have to think about inflation, so, or we could tie it to something. But not all places have minimum wage, so let's see what the minimum wage is. So the idea is that, let's say I know we're kind of paranoid here, but let's say we say that, oh, you have to sell the game for at least $20, because I don't want people making shovelware with this engine, right? Or we, like, sell it for, like, 25 cents or something. Well, the problem with that is, what if hyperinflation comes along, right? And what if the United States of America completely collapses, and all my revenue is coming from more stable nations, right? Like, what if that happens? Well, if we say that, you know, you have to sell for at least minimum wage in America, and the dollar has hyperinflated, then that's basically meaningless, right? It's like saying that, you know, you gotta at least sell your game for 20 Zimbabwe dollars. Oh, that's interesting, because people are walking around with $1 trillion notes in their pockets, so that's basically a meaningless statement, right? If the currency becomes completely worthless, then that's a meaningless proposition, right? But we would like to have some type of bottom floor on the price that people are selling things. Now, that is kind of, like, heavy-handed, right? But there's a reason for that, you know? And maybe we want to explain why that reason is. So I think it would be interesting as well. So forget about minimum wage. Let's talk about coffee. So let's go on cheap coffee drinks Meyer. Okay, so we have, like, cheap bottled coffee. Cheap 16-ounce bottle of coffee. So what I'm saying is coffee is a drug that will exist until humanity ceases to exist. So we're going to try to tie the prices to something stable, right? Now, you could tie something to gold. I'm going to try to tie it to coffee, right? Because we're programmers. So let's try to, and so we have a problem here, right now. And this is called, it's called Torch is Stupid. And, like, how did we even get here? Did we get hijacked? Did our browser get hijacked? Quick fast search. Torch, quick, fast search, like that, yeah, so that looks bad to me. I don't know how we got on something called quick, fast search. That really bothers me. I don't know if that's Torch using another stupid search engine. But I really like Torch browser, except the fact that it doesn't use Google. So, let's see. 16-ounce bottle of coffee. And let's do shopping, right? More shopping. Coffee, 16 ounces. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Instant coffee. Can we find 16 ounces of instant coffee? This is 12 ounces. That's right. So so the other problem is that people kind of change the quantities for cups of coffee and things. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say, like, how about you have to sell the game for, like, you know, at least $20 or some type of product that, we can tie it to. So, instant coffee. So $8.11. What can we buy per pound? Yeah, I'm getting kind of complicated here, but I want to think about... It needs to be something that people can kind of easily look up and find the price for. So that's why I don't want to do, like, the spot price of gold or something like... No, I don't want something like that. I want something that actually has utility, right? I want to base the price of something on something that has utility, not something based in, like, psychology, like gold or silver. Even though, like, precious metals do have some utility, right? Like with circuitry and whatnot. So that's not completely ill-founded. Let's look for 16-ounce, 16 OZ coffee, and, that's good I don't live there anymore, because I'm kind of doxing myself, but, so I want something that you can kind of easily search for. So, now the thing is that, have you ever heard of the thing that your food is shrinking? So, sizes of things are kind of like shrinking as the years go by. Like, instead of food manufacturers raising their prices, they will just shrink the container size, right? So, so the price here for shipping on this, 8 ounces is like $5.27, and that could be, that could, yes?
Hello.
Hello. That could change.
What the hell are you doing?
We gotta figure out the... Okay, so we don't want people to make shovelware with our engine, right? So, we need to have some stipulation as you can't go and sell a game for, like...
Oh, I see.
We don't want people, like, selling the game for just $5, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that we want to limit how many people are using the engine, it's that if somebody makes something with this, we want them to make something high quality, right? That we want them to make sure they put a lot of effort into it, so that people don't get a bad taste in their mouth when they see a game made with that engine, right?
Yes.
Now that could be a bad idea, because then that means that, you know, if people are putting shovelware out there, then your stuff is out there more, right?
Think about it like this: Unreal Engine is accessible to everybody, right?
There
are both good and bad games associated with Unreal. But overall, the general idea of it is just kind of good.
Yeah, that is true.
So here's my proposition. It's Christmas. You want a cup of coffee?
It's Christmas. No.
No cup of coffee.
No cup of coffee. It'll throw me off.
Okay. That's what I
throw me off.
Ask.
Okay.
You want to hang out though for a sec?
No, I'm in the middle of something.
How dare you?
Okay.
Rude ass motherfucker.
All right. You better hope that one viewer is me. Okay.
I think it is.
So.
Goodbye.
So yeah, let's say, okay, 8 ounces, $5. Let's just round this to $5, right? And say that 8 and 8 is 16, so 32. So 32 ounces of instant coffee, and we'll say that'll be before shipping. Because sometimes people hide what the shipping cost is, so it's really hard to figure out what that is. So we'll just say that it's, and I like the number 32, right? And so if we have 5 times 4, right, we're going to get about $20. And 8, 8, 16, 16, 16, 32. So we're going to say 32 ounces of instant coffee, right? Okay, so you must sell your game for at least this dollar at least max 32 OZ instant thirty-two ounces instant coffee before shipping and handling, shipping and tax. $20 US. So right now, we're not even going to put $20 US. We're just going to say 32 ounces of instant coffee before shipping, handling, okay, so and we're going to say, now if somebody does that, right, that's kind of a weird stipulation now, isn't it? So, two, three. You must include a screenshot of the coffee you are basing your game price on for that Okay, so now we're kind of getting kind of weird, but, Should be every 10 years or every year. Let's see this. This is to prevent people from making shovelware with the engine. Okay. Okay. Let's say, if we have 527 for 8 ounces of coffee, then what's 1 ounce? So, 527 divided by 8. So 1 ounce is like this. So if we divide it by 8 divided by 4, so 1/4 of an ounce. How about 2? So like a 32 cents divided by 4. Okay. Okay. So 1/4 of an ounce of instant coffee. Okay. That gives us like 16 cents per copy. That seems like a decent royalty, right? Where it's not like ridiculous, right? It's like you sell your game for $20, I'm just asking for like 16 cents, right? You owe of we said 1/16 or no 1 ounce or 1/2 ounce. I think we said 1/2 ounce. 1/4 of an ounce, right? So if this is 8 ounces of coffee, 527. Yeah, 8 ounces of coffee, 527. Divided by 8 to just get 1 ounce, and then divided by 4 to get 1/4 of an ounce. So royalty of 1/4 ounce of coffee. Okay, so what we're going to do to make this a little bit easier is instead of saying cost of, we're going to say per game sold. Okay, so let's clean this up a little bit. not remove engine splash screen. Let's just say not remove engine splash screen. You must sell your game for at least 32 ounces of instant coffee. You must include a screenshot of the coffee you are basing your game price on for that year, and name it coffeelicense.png. So, that's a little bit too much effort, I think. I think it's kind of funny, but I think that, maybe people don't want their game payload to have, that kind of bloat in it, right? This random PNG file. But it also helps people kind of prove, like when I'm looking at their game, I want to be able to see how much they owe, and it has to be based on coffeelicense.png, right? You must include a cow. So here's my license. I think that's what we want to go for with the license. So we're going to define what these terms are lower down. So if you use this engine in a game, you must, 1, not remove the engine splash screen. You must sell your game for at least 32 ounces of instant coffee. You must include coffee license photo in the root of installation folder. So let's remove must from this. Sell your game for at least. Include in the root of installation folder must so let's say what you must do, what you owe for engine use. Okay, what you owe for engine use. You owe nothing if okay, so that looks good, like there. What do I owe for using AAC 2020 engine? You owe nothing if less than 100,000 copies sold. Every copy after 100,000, you owe 1/4 ounce of coffee. 1/4 ounce of instant coffee. And we'll define what that means later. Other requirements for engine use. Do not remove the engine splash screen. Sell your game for at least 32 ounces of instant coffee. Include in the root of installation folder coffee license photo. So let's do terms. Okay, so the terms here. The cost of 1/4 ounce of instant coffee before tax, shipping, and handling. This can be calculated by taking the cost of any commonly available consumer product and dividing to get the cost per ounce, and then dividing that amount by 4. This price is not allowed to be calculated using bulk factory prices. If you Googled the price on, if you found the price on Amazon.com, Walmart, Meijer, or another online retailer, that price is suitable. And let's just say, $0.25 or the this price cannot be below 10 cents. So if coffee somehow becomes as cheap as water, just give us 10 cents per copy of your game sold. Okay, so this price cannot be below 10 cents, so if coffee somehow becomes as cheap as water, just give us 10 cents per copy of your game sold. Okay. The cost of, and that's just so that, you know, if people try to, like, let's say that Meijer is going out of business and on their website they just start liquidating stuff and instant coffee becomes dirt cheap or something, right? We want some type of way around that, so 1/4 of instant coffee. The cost of 1/4 ounce of instant coffee before tax, shipping, and handling. This can be calculated by taking the cost of any commonly available consumer product and dividing to get the cost per ounce, and then dividing that amount by 4. This price is not allowed to be calculated using bulk factory prices. If you found the price on Amazon.com, Walmart, Meijer, or another online retailer, that price is suitable. If you found that price in an actual grocery store or coffee shop, that price is also suitable. Okay. This price cannot be below 10 cents, so if coffee somehow becomes as cheap as water, just give us 10 cents per copy of your game sold. Okay. So that's good for this one. So let's highlight that. And now let's look at you owe nothing if okay, every copy after 100,000, you owe 1/4 instant coffee. So that this is after, right? So I don't want it to be like you owe nothing, and then once you magically get to this, you automatically are hit with a huge bill, right? It should be like if you get to 100,000, that should kind of be a celebration for you, right? It should be like, oh man, we hit 100,000. It shouldn't be like, oh man, we hit 100,000, now we owe a whole bunch of money, right? We don't want that. So, so engine splash screen. The engine splash screen is a screen that pops up with engine information when the engine boots up. the current... If you are using an old version of the engine, this may not exist yet. That is okay. Just don't remove this splash screen from the source code. Just don't remove this splash screen, or otherwise prevent it from popping up if it is coded into the engine source. Okay, so engine splash screen, that's what we got for that. So these are just clarifications, right? We want the main kind of contract to be kind of short and sweet, and then we want to kind of clarify what these kind of things mean, right? So 32 ounces of instant coffee. And also 32, that's not 30. 30. This is the cost in currency of 32 ounces of instant coffee. How you calculate 32, so let's say that, so let's say 40 cents times 20 times 40. Let's do 16, sure. This is the cost and currency of 32 ounces of coffee. Please calculate this value by taking the by going to a grocery store, coffee shop, or online retailer and finding a fairly priced product. And figuring out how much that product would cost if you bought exactly 32 ounces of it. Do not factor shipping, handling, or tax into the calculation. The price, if the price is less than 10 cents per ounce, the price must be at least 10 cents per ounce. If coffee somehow becomes as cheap as becomes dirt cheap, you must then you must sell your game for at least 16 or hold on. So he said 10 cents per ounce. 10 cents per ounce would not be okay, we're saying 10 cents. So let's say this is 1/4. So that means 40 cents. Price. The price must be at least 40 cents per ounce. If coffee somehow ends up dirt cheap, then you must sell your game for at least 16 US dollars. And that would be 40 ounces of coffee. And we're saying 32 ounces of coffee here. Okay, 32 ounces of instant coffee. This is the cost in currency of 32 ounces of instant coffee. Calculate this value by going to a grocery store, coffee shop, or online retailer and finding a fairly priced product and figuring out how much that product would cost if you bought exactly 32 ounces of it. An unfairly priced product would be something from a going out of business sale, or a bulk quantity ordered from a factory. Costco is a gray area. I'd prefer you not do that, but if you want to be a cutthroat business asshole kind of guy, you can use use okay. So 32 ounces of instant coffee. This is the cost in currency of 32 ounces of instant coffee. Calculate this value by going to a grocery store, coffee shop, or online retailer and finding a fairly priced product and figuring out how much that product would cost if you bought exactly 32 ounces of it. An unfairly priced product would be something from a going out of business sale or a bulk quantity ordered from a factory. Costco is a gray area. I prefer you not do that, but if you want to be a cutthroat business asshole kind of guy, you can use the price you would find in a Costco or Sam's Club store. Do not factor shipping, handling, or tax into the calculation. The price must be at least 40 cents per ounce. If coffee somehow becomes dirt cheap, then you must sell your game for at least 16 US dollars. Okay? So at least 16 US dollars. I like powers of 2, so let's say $16 instead of 20. So that allows people to do like the if they really want to do the stupid like 19.99 thing, you know, then they have the ability, because we're going to say at least $16. Okay, engine splash screen, 1/4 ounce instant coffee. The cost of 1/4 ounce of instant coffee before tax, shipping, and handling. This can be calculated by taking the cost of any commonly available consumer product and dividing to get the cost per ounce, and then dividing that amount by 4. This price is not allowed to be calculated using bulk factory prices. If you found the price on Amazon.com, Walmart, Meijer, or another online retailer, that price is suitable. If you found that price in an actual grocery store or coffee shop, that price is also suitable. This price cannot be below 10 cents. So if coffee somehow becomes as cheap as water, just give us 10 cents per copy of your game sold. Okay. So we have this, and we have this as well. Let's make sure that all of these are noted for. So this thing, and this thing, and this thing, right? And then we have coffee license photo is the next thing. So coffee license photo. A screenshot of the online listing for the coffee you are basing your currency values on. Or alternatively, a photo from the product on a grocery store shelf showing the price and number of ounces, or alternatively a photo of the menu at a coffee shop or whatnot. Or alternatively, a receipt from a coffee shop or a grocery store. Coffee license photo, okay? The purpose of this photo is to give proof that you is to calculate how much you owe in license royalties. Royalties, and also the why Okay, so we'll have a section here called "See Why Dictate How Much I Sell My Game For." Okay, and we dictate a minimum price you can sell your game for, because in order to discourage shovelware. games that, did... Okay, so we'll call this FAQ. Or not, questions and answers. We're not going to call it FAQ because it's just questions or answers. I don't actually know if they're frequently asked questions or not, but they're questions and answers. So we're not going to call it FAQ. But we have this little section here. And we can see that right here, and also has some hashtags on it. So let's put like a hashtag here. Okay. And yeah, so that looks good. So let's give this a once over, and let's also kind of make that a little bit better. So we're gonna call it. There's probably already a thing called coffee license, right? I mean, somebody's already done this. Coffee license. We're just gonna call it a kanji coder coffee license version we'll just say 1 like that. Kanji coder coffee license version 1, right? And then we'll kind of like sure, why not? So we'll take that, we'll put it over here, we'll put it down at the bottom. Right? So we got this nice little license file. Kanji coder, coffee license, version 1, right? So this, basically, once we've written this, we're not gonna change what any of this says, right? If we want to change what this is, we're going to change, we're gonna change what the we'll change what the version number is. So let's do in our project here, let's rename this. So let's rename this to rename license version .001.txt. So license.version 001.txt. So or actually, how about this? How about we do like coffee license now, no, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's do, license dot version dot 001. Yeah. So let's not try to be odd with the name of the file. Let's kind of name it pretty conventionally. So license.version.001, and that's kind of stating that, you know, we're not gonna do any of that weird semvar stuff. We're gonna keep it pretty simple, right? The version number is just, you know, incremental, right? And so we're assuming we're never gonna get to like 999, and we can change this license version as we progress, right? So let's close this, right? We did our little research here, and we can change the license, you know, as we progress. If like we think that we made a fatal mistake, we can change that. But that looks like a decent license file to me. So actually, let me see if I'm gonna check my Discord here, because I think that I might want to ask a friend about this and see. I mean, they're probably gonna think it's completely insane, but I want to see if they see like any like glaring problem with what I've written. And they're not a lawyer, but I just want to pass it by them. So let's take a look at what they think. Okay. I drafted a license. Alright, let's just see what they think. I'm gonna add it. Can I just add... let's see, AAC 2020. Hold on, I'll be right back. I just gotta find this and give it to them. Any glaring mistakes you see? Loopholes? Okay, so I just want to do that really quick so that I could, that if they have any thoughts on that, they can kind of give them to me. Okay, so now we set up a new GitHub for specifically this project, and we're gonna make like a public version of the repo, just so that we only push to this one when we have like some type of when we have stable changes, right? And then we'll keep our personal GitHub, you know, to ourselves. So in here, let's do repos, and let's make a new one. So where the heck is the new button? I guess it's not here, huh? I guess over here then. Right here. Okay, so let's do here. And oh, hold on. www.github.com. Looks like we're logged out of our yeah, hold on. We gotta sign out. We're not signed in as who we want to be here. So let's go sign in as Kanji Coder here. And I'm gonna go put this on a different screen, you know, just in case I accidentally show my password. I don't want you to see that, obviously. So and then okay, so now that we've done that, let's create a new repo. So over here, we're going to do a new repository. And it's just going to be basically a clone of our main repo, but it's just going to be hosted over here, right? So we're going to do AAC 2020. And that stands for Atomic Alice C 2020. Atomic Alice 2020. C 2020 game engine by okay, Atomic Alice game engine, we'll call it that. And then we'll do it as public. We're not going to do a license, right? Because we're just going to create this absolutely blank and use this to push up to. So we'll create this repo. And we got to take a note of some of the URLs here, right? And so these URLs are going to be publicly available for everybody. So I'll like post them in places where people can see them later. But all right, so AAC, okay, so KK AAC 2020 get URL KC AAC 2020 get URL. Okay, so I've made a note of this URL here, and that's really the only URL I actually need to keep track of. But I also want to make a note, kanji coder AAC 2020, AAC 2020, kanji coder, and yeah, that should be good enough. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to we have to make sure that Heavy Metal Cookies has permission to push up to here, because we're really just going to take the thing on my Heavy Metal Cookies Git, and we're just going to push it to here. That's basically what we're going to do. So, I forgot which one of these tabs is under. You know, I always forget where this is. Let's try Settings. Manage Access, I believe, yeah? Who has access? So, Manage Access and Invite a Collaborator. So, we're going to do Heavy Metal Cookies, which is also me. And so that'll also be interesting, because like maybe as I get more people kind of following along, I'll kind of know like who knows me better depending on like how many people know which of my other aliases kind of like exist. So that'll be kind of fun. Add Heavy Metal Cookies to this repo. Okay, yeah, so we'll do that. And now that Heavy Metal Cookies is added to this repo, we're going to make a note of that in here, right? We want to be able to add that as a remote. So let's do git bash here. And we're going to do git remote -v. Okay, so we see I have a GitHub. We're going to do a git remote add, and we're going to call it release. We'll call it release. Release. Or actually, we could call it kanji coder. Kanji coder. And then we'll just say that that is, let's find that URL for a second. So I just have it in my notes on my other screen. So I'm going to take it, copy it, and then I'll paste it right here. You got to paste by right-clicking. So we're going to right-click and paste, and then close that off. Okay, so we have the name of the remote, and then we have what it resolves to, right? So this is just shorthand for this. So everywhere where you could write this, you can now write this, and vice versa. So any command that would take this URL here can now just take this, right? And that just makes things a little bit easier. So let's do a git status. Git status. So we forgot about adding that. So let's do git add dot git commits -am added coffee license version 001. Okay. And git status git push GitHub. Okay. Now, the last thing we want to do before we actually push this up as a release is, well, we have to make sure that it runs. Now, we're running on Windows 10, 64-bit, so that kind of sucks for anybody who's not Windows 10, 64-bit, and we'll have to resolve that later, but the first priority is getting a working engine together, right? Well, we're not going to worry about, you know, oh, we're eliminating certain operating systems. We're not going to worry about that right now. We'll just worry about, you know, does the code compile? Yeah, it compiles, and we have something running. So, now there are problems with this code base, like my Windows code sometimes freezes. But you know what? We have something up here. Let's take it, roll with it, push it up for people to look at. So we're going to do a git bash here, and now we're just going to take this and push it up to kanji coder. So we're going to do a git push kanji coder like that. And I think it's going to make us set up, you know, what branch we want to push to. So let's just do this. And, okay, permission to kanji coder, deny. Oh, yeah, so I actually have to go to my email, and I have to confirm. Like, just because I was given an invite doesn't mean I automatically have access. I have to go to my Gmail, and I have to be like, yeah, I want to be part of this project, right? Like, we don't instantly have access. We actually have to confirm that as well. So we're going to go check our email. We have, like, an invite email. Kanji Coder invited you to Kanji Coder/AAC 2020. So we're going to click that, and we're going to see, can we view the invitation? You can accept or decline. So we'll view the invitation. And we're back at Kanji Coder, whatever the hell, who has access. So we actually have to log out, sign out here, because we're that view access link isn't working properly unless we're actually signed into Heavy Metal Cookies. So sign in, and right, I'm just saying what I'm doing since you can't see, and it's just I want to make sure that I don't accidentally show my passwords, right? So that's why I'm keeping it off screen. heavymetalcookies@gmail.com and password. Don't listen to my keys. Oh, wait, and then it's not email. Heavy. Okay. So now that we're in, let's close this and let's try to view our invitation again, and this time it should actually work. Because yeah, just weird kind of things. It's not expecting us to have more than one GitHub isn't expecting us to have more than one GitHub account. So we're gonna view invitation, and now we see Kanji Coder invited you to collaborate. And do we want to accept the invitation? Yeah, we're going to accept that invitation. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to try the git push again and see if that actually works. So git bash here, and git status. Okay, git push kanji coder. And then it might ask us to do like some type of setup to make sure that we declare a branch, because I'm not going to say master. Let's see what it says. Enumerating objects. Alright, cool. So it's doing stuff. That's cool. That's cool. Alright. And alright, so I thought it was gonna ask me more stuff, but get status. Okay, clear. Let's actually look at Kanji Coder now. So let's take the URL here. Let's take a let's take this and take a look at it and see what we have. And let me close some of my tabs up here. Okay, so Kanji Coder. If you go to Kanji Coder, we can see another contribution today. Excellent. And if we look at here, we see popular repos. We have AAC 2020, Atomic Alice Game Engine, and then we have the Twitch URL. Excellent. So I do want to add like my my icon here, so we're going to change that as well. I'm going to go up here because I don't know where in my operating system that icon's going to, what that's going to ask when I try to, you know, add an icon. So I'm just going to go up here and make that change right now. So Let's see, your profile, and... Oh, we're back in Heavy Metal Cookies. So let's sign out here. I'm going to sign into Heavy Metal Cookies. I got too many tabs open. Let's close this. We'll be back. Okay. And not sign up. Oh, wrong tab. Sign in. Sign in. Okay. Kanji coder. Okay, so that worked. Okay, so now that we're signed in, I'm looking just to change my icon here. So in my profile, overview, edit profile. Okay, edit profile. We got add bio. We're going to do our Twitch URL. And we're going to say data-oriented game design. And then the company is Decazen Corp. So we're actually going to do this under our company umbrella. So if we start to make any profit, it's going to go to Decazen. And location, and Ann Arbor, Michigan. Website, do just JMIM demos, fine. And we will save that. Our username is Make Games Happen. Make Twitter. Okay, so we're gonna take that and put our Twitter thing, since it has Twitter. I don't know why. Make games happen. Okay, so we've edited our profile, and now what are we looking for here? We're just looking for, where do we change that icon? Do we actually just have to click the icon? Change your avatar. Yes, we do. Okay, so, let's see, edit. Upload photo. And desktop, delete me. And do we have our icon in here? We gotta move it to somewhere we can find it. Ah, there it is. Decton.png. Okay, so I'm gonna take that. Okay, cool. So now we have that kind of set up nicely, right? We got our little icon. And I actually want to back up that icon. It's not like a very complicated icon, but I want to back it up so that, you know, if I need to start using this icon in other places, I can actually, you know, find where that is. So we're going to take some time just to back that up really quick. And then, I don't know what we're going to do after that. Your name may appear around GitHub when you can contribute to, we'll just keep our name as Kanji Coder. And, update profile. Okay, so we updated the profile. That looks good to me. Let's close that. And let's take, God, I should get rid of these things. Alright, everything is nice and clean except for, you know, that bullshit. So, in our little delete me folder, where we have all the, this is like where my desktop of where I put everything. I'm gonna take this and I'm going to put it up here so you can't see everything that's in it. Which I should have done before. And I'm just going to find that icon, and I'm going to put it somewhere in a repo where I can actually find it. So actually, you know where it would be easy to find? We just take it, put it in our repo. Yeah, so let's just do... Copy this. Why not? Why not just put it in the repo, and then we can find it, right? So I'm gonna paste this right here. Screw it, just do it. So okay. So we have this, which is obviously kind of confusing to people, but it leaves a little trail for people if they want to kind of figure out what that icon is, right? Because people are going to associate it with different things depending on how deep they look, right? That looks good to me. Let's get bash here. Get status. Get add dot. Get status. Okay, get commit dash am. Get status. Get push GitHub and master. And then we're also going to do a git push to kanji coder for this as well. And then we may start to forget to push to kanji coder, but git push kanji coder. But pushing to kanji coder should only be for kind of like a, what would you say? I don't even know what to call this. Official releases, right? Okay, so now that we've done that, and we've kind of like done the engine license and public repo, right? We've done all that. We should probably add something to our stream to let people find that, right? We got this tiny URL for music. Maybe we should also put that, maybe instead of the tiny URL for music, since it looks to me to be that this stream has changed from listening to music to actually, you know, talking about what we're doing and whatnot. And so the music URL doesn't really make much sense anymore, right? So, let's actually take the URL of the public repo and let's put that up there so people can find it. And let's do, right, we have the, so this will take some thought, but let's go to GitHub, so www.github.com. And let's take this, and let's make a tiny URL, alright? Let's make a tiny URL to get to here. So this is kind of where we want people to end up. So let's take this, go to www.tinyurl.com, and we're going to take this URL for this GitHub project, and we're going to say tiny URL is AAC 2020, right? And we're going to hope that we have that. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that, but let's just try AAC 2020 and make a tiny URL and see what happens. Not available. So now I wonder what it is, so now I want to look. So www.tinyurl.com/AAC 2020. Well, what is it? You need access. You are signed in setting up. I got the tiny URL, well, but I seem to be, locked out. John Mark. I got the tiny URL, but I seem to be locked out. Let's just, request access, right? We'll just pretend that, right, we'll write it as if, that person should know who John Mark is, and then, request access. So yeah, let's request some access, and then we'll see what that's about later, maybe, unless we don't get access. So so we can't use AAC 2020, so that sucks. So can we do kanji coder? right? And that way we can get to how about A8? How about engine 2020? I mean, I don't think so, but let's try it. I mean, make tiny URL. Let's just see what we can get access to. Alias is invalid. Oh, yeah, that's right. We can't do that. We gotta do dashes if we want to do that, right? Can we do, like, engine 2020? Not available. How about AAC 2020 like that? Can we do that? So not together. I mean, I don't know if I like that. Whatever. Let's just see what we got. Right? AAC 2020 is not bad. I don't know. But if it said engine, then you would know what we're doing, right? If it said AAC engine, then you would know what we're talking about, like engine, right? Let's try that. AAC engine. Sure, there we go. That's our tiny URL. So let's take that. Let's roll with it, right? So AAC 2020 public. AAC 2020 public engine tiny URL engine. Okay, so we're gonna take that. We'll roll with that, right? And then if we take that tiny URL, we'll hope that we did it correctly, right? And make sure that it actually takes us to kanjicoder/AAC 2020. Yeah, so it takes us there. Excellent. It says I'm using C++. That's only because of load PNG. Load PNG has a option to compile for a C++ compiler rather than a C compiler. So it has some cruft in it, I guess you could say. Yeah, that's fine. So we're still gonna always be logged in as Heavy Metal Cookies, just because logging in as somebody else on my personal machine is a pain. So yeah, so there's all these different aliases running around. Maybe that's inconsistent branding, but you know, hopefully things will kind of consolidate as time goes by. And yeah, that's good there. So let's go and kind of edit the kind of like information right here. Right here, we're going to edit this. Okay, so now it's not really going to be, it's really not going to be much for, okay, so that kind of goes off the edge there. So can we get a different tiny URL that's a little bit shorter? How about KC get? Right? Or AAC get? AAC get would work. So let's do www.github.com, or not GitHub, www.tinyurl.com. See if we can get like a tiny URL. Let's try like, so let's go back to, I'm going to take this kanji coder URL here. We're going to take this, and we're going to paste it in there. And then from here, we're going to try to see if we can get like AAC and then git. Not available. How about get AAC? There we go. Okay, that works for me. Get AAC. And I'm going to make a note of that. AAC 2020 public longer. Public AAC 2020 longer. Okay. And that's not bad, right? Because then it's like, it kind of reads as get, as in literally the verb get, which I kind of like. So right over here, let's go to this area right here. Let's edit that one more time. So properties, and we're going to just call it get AAC, right? So get AAC, like that. Okay, there we go. So tiny URL, tinyurl.com/getAAC, and the sub-project we're working towards right now is called Paint 5D. The current project is AAC 2020. So Paint 5D is a project within Paint 5D is a sub-module within the main project AAC 2020. Okay, so we've got into where, you know, we've got into a good point where we've kind of done what we said we were going to do on this title. So I think it would be a good point to just stop this stream, because we've covered the subject matter of what we were working towards. So I think this is a good stopping point for stopping the stream. And it's like, you know, Merry Christmas, right? I just put this code out public for people to take a look at. So I think that is a good Christmas present. So yeah, I think that is good. I think I'm out of here. I usually go a little bit longer. I'll probably be back maybe in an hour or half an hour to an hour, because I want to keep on writing some code. But I think that's good for right now. So I will see you later. And thank you for watching, if that one viewer is indeed not just me. Yeah, because I don't know, it's one viewer, so that could just be me. So thank you to me, or to whoever that is, or to my placebo viewer. Yeah, so we're going to stop streaming. Later.